this series is Manjushri. Manjushri is another Sanskrit term, and it actually means, so you could translate it as the gentle glory, or gloriously gentle, depending on how you want to shoot it. And he's the Bodhisattva of wisdom, or the Buddha of wisdom. And he is always found with a sword. And very, very commonly, in fact, this is probably the most common representation. He's holding a sword here in his right hand, and then he's holding his other hand here in this position, and then there's a stem going off, and then it blossoms by his left shoulder into a lotus, and then on that lotus there's a book. So that's the most common representation of him. Now, that motif is echoed here. This is a slightly different form of him. But here, he is holding his right hand in that same position. And then there's the stem of a lotus that goes up, and then the book is here, and then the sword is on top of it. Does everybody see that? So it's just combining these two implements. That's how we can know, how scholars never say, oh, this may be very obvious. So, let's look at the more common form, and then we'll look at this. So here, if we look at the left side, the wisdom side, again, we see he's holding his hand in this particular mudra. Interestingly, this is, it mirrors the teaching mudra, so he's like giving teachings in that way. The lotus is blossoming, and then the book that's there is a Tibetan book, a loose leaf book. It's found in every Buddhist country. They're loose leaves and not bound, so you can chant them when you hold them up. And the particular book is the Prajnaparamita Sutras. So that's a whole category of sutras. Most people know of the Heart Sutra. It's probably the most famous one. The one that's form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Prajna literally means wisdom or wisdom, knowledge, like that. And paramita means perfection. So it's not the knowledge that accumulates, so what we were talking about earlier. It's the insight into reality. So it's the complete penetration of delusion. So that's the book that he's holding, sort of the essence of all of the teachings. On the right side, he's holding this sword with a little bit of fire on the tip. Sometimes it's very fiery, sometimes it's just a little bit on the tip. And that sword is to cut through compassionately our own and other people's ignorance or delusion that's keeping us from the realization of our essential nature. So that's the sword. And the fire itself is very interesting. It's another motif on wisdom. Because fire, so it doesn't, if I have a raging fire, I can throw tons and tons of wood on it. It just makes the fire stronger. And also it's giving light, it's giving warmth. So it's this understanding that from an enlightened perspective, these seemingly negative emotions actually can become fuel for one's realization. A lot of great stories about Manjushri. He figures prominently into a lot of legends. In fact, one legend, if you've ever been to Nepal, the entire Kathmandu Valley was said to be, actually what geologists tell us it was covered in water. It was a big lake. And then I think an earthquake happened or something, and all the water drained out and it became livable thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago. But according to the myth or the legend about it, Manjushri saw that this was a very ripe place for spiritual practice, took out a sword and cleaved the mountainside and drained it, made it habitable. So there are lots of, if you go to the Kathmandu Valley, you'll see lots of representations of Manjushri. So going back over here to this image, very interesting. So you see, remember again, the idea that this compassion and wisdom are not really two separate things. They're two manifestations of the same insight. And here you see very clearly they're stacked one on top of the other on the right hand side. Now with his other hand, he's doing something called the Advaya Institute, and it's the fear dispelling mudra. It's like this. And there's a great story that goes with that. One day there was somebody that was very jealous of Shakyamuni Buddha, the main figure of that. And he apparently got a very angry, cranky, moody elephant drunk. And apparently when you get cranky elephants drunk, they charge people. So sort of, I don't know how they pointed it in Buddha's direction and wanted them to go gore the Buddha. And Buddha just, I would have loved to have seen this. The elephant comes toward Buddha, and Buddha just raises his hand like that. And the elephant kneeled down. Buddha blessed the elephant. So, obviously the raging elephant is us, right? Our minds can sometimes be like the raging, cranky, drunk elephant going off in a direction. So it's that